What's up, guys? Matt Brown here for TheLines.com, and boy, do we have a great Thursday night football game coming up. It is the Los Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Guys, this is a game that is one of the games that if this was on a Monday night, if this was on a Sunday night, if this was just even in the afternoon window on a regular Sunday, everybody in the world would be hyped and tuned in. Instead, hey, look, this is going to be streaming on Amazon Prime. So we will see how this gets viewed and whatnot. But again, this is just a massive, awesome game. Hopefully everybody can find a way to watch this thing. So before we get started, as always, everything absolutely free. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. This is an article written here over on the lines by Eli. Eli and I have different views of this game, which is awesome because, hey, you can read this article, you can get his, you can take a look at, you're going to get my view here over on the video. One thing we can do from this article, though, is come down and we can take a look at the line in this game. As we sit right now recording this, it's going to be 4 or 4.5, depending on where you get it. Total going to be sitting somewhere in that 54 range at most places, as you can see. This was sitting 2.5 on the look ahead, then 3, then 3.5, then all the way to 4. Got to 4.5. There was some resistance there. Came back in, and now we sit at 4 in favor of the Chiefs. I'll scroll down if you want to take a look at some of the stuff that Eli's got written here, some of the notes, news and notes and different things like that. One of the things we can look at on the screen right now, though, is the injury report. And it's pretty interesting here in this one because the reason we saw so much movement was because it was fairly obvious that Keenan Allen was not going to play for the Chargers. And that ends up being the case. He is ruled out, as is tight end Donald Parham. And J.C. Jackson's listed as questionable right now, and according to Brandon Staley, he was 50-50 to go in this game. So I think it is a true game time decision, and even if he does go, it's probably going to be limited snaps anyway with J.C. Jackson in this game. Over on the Chiefs side of things, the real big one here is that Harrison Butker's out for this game. It's super interesting. They're blaming it on the turf in Arizona, that they were, going to be without Harrison Butker, who went for a kickoff and the turf kind of gave way and twisted his ankle. And then they also lost their nickel cornerback, which is horrible, actually, to an ACL injury in that game as well. So something to keep in mind here. So I'll scroll down and let you take a look at just these offensive statistics and things like that real quick as we talk about this. So what are we looking at here? And Patrick Mahomes comes in after just an unbelievable beatdown of that Arizona Cardinals team. Number one quarterback in week 1 in completion percentage over expectation. If you look, though, Justin Herbert not far behind. He was 4th in completion percentage over expectation as well. I mean, in success rate too. And so, look, both these quarterbacks, unbelievably awesome. Both these quarterbacks, really good in week 1. That being said, the defenses that they were going up against, not the greatest out there, especially what Patrick Mahomes got from the Cardinals. I mean, listen, no Chandler Jones, no J.J. Watt equaled basically no pass rush. And what happened in this game was because they didn't have a way to get to Patrick Mahomes, they blitzed him on over 50% of his passing dropbacks. If you know anything about Patrick Mahomes, he is unbelievably awesome against the blitz. And he was, in fact, awesome against the blitz in this game. So that is one of the things we're going to have to try and figure out is, are the Chargers going to blitz really at all? Because what you got in week 1 from Patrick Mahomes was being blitzed on 51% of his dropbacks, to which he went 16 of 23, and all 5 of his touchdowns came when he was being blitzed. So if you look back to last year, what did the Chargers do against Mahomes last year? Well, they blitzed on about 28% of his dropbacks. And even the 28% of the dropbacks that they blitzed him on, he did really awesome. He went 20 of 27. So I'm guessing that the Chargers are probably going to take this approach like we saw several of the teams do last year against Mahomes, which is just kind of sit back in the 2 deep and not blitz him and hopefully try to get some pressure with your front 4, which, look, they should be able to do at least on occasion here, but you still have Joey Bosa, right? I mean, like, they're going to be able to generate some sort of pressure on Patrick Mahomes. So I don't think that that's going to be something that is out of the realm of possibility here. When you look at some Mahomes props as we continue to break this thing down. Look, Justin Herbert, absolutely awesome. That being said, does not have, as we mentioned, Keenan Allen out there. And I don't think that this is something that we should sit here and just kind of brush off. So without Keenan Allen, what happened, Mike Williams ended up having to run routes on 91% of their dropbacks. That said, he only got a 13% target share in the game because it's not a 1-for-1 trade-off, right? They're two different types of receivers. Keenan Allen doesn't go out and then those targets go to Mike Williams. That's just not how that works. So Josh Palmer, DeAndre Carter, these are guys that are going to have to step in and try and fill the void of Keenan Allen not being in the lineup. Maybe, right? Or we look elsewhere, and we'll talk about that when we talk about some props in just a little bit. I mentioned Eli and I are on different sides of this game. If you go to the bottom of the article, you will see that Eli says that he went ahead and played the Chargers at plus 3.5. He got in early. He thought maybe this number would go the opposite direction. Instead, with the Allen injury, it actually went to 4 instead. Some of his reasonings here, you can look as to why these teams might cover. But for me, I played the Chiefs at 3.5, and I'll tell you why. And it has everything to do with the Allen and Parham injuries and also J.C. Jackson, most likely, in my opinion, most likely not going to go. And even if he does go, going to be ineffective, at least for the first couple of weeks here. Not able to get in any full practices at all since he had surgery, coming back off of that. And again, they're going to give him limited reps in this deal because they have to have him for the long haul here. They're not going to risk putting him out there when he's not fully ready to play a full complement of snaps. And so with that, it just seems like too big of a daunting task for them to stop this Chiefs offense the way that the Chiefs offense has played. Now, if we want to look at this total, despite the fact that I think that the Chiefs offense is going to do well, I also believe the Chargers offense is going to do pretty well as well. That being said, highly efficient offenses can be just like run heavy teams. And so where do I think that the production is going to come? Well, if they sit back in this too deep against Patrick Mahomes, it's going to be like we saw towards the latter half of last season with Mahomes. He figured out, hey, I can't get antsy. I've got to just take what the defensive give me. And it's going to be dink, dunk, dink, dunk, dink, dunk down the field. And if you're doing that, it's basically the same as running the ball, right? I mean, like, it's a little bit more efficient than running the ball, but what I'm saying is it just keeps the clock running the whole time. So if we're looking at a total of 54, and again, the casual bettor hasn't even hit this thing yet, so we might get 54.5 or 55. You look over on the Charger side of things, and without Keenan Allen, I think they have to look to alternative options as opposed to like, oh, well, let's just heavily target Mike Williams. Because again, Mike Williams just isn't that type of guy, right? I mean, we're looking again at a guy that when Keenan Allen went out, he ran routes on 91% of the dropbacks, but still only got 13% of the target share. So this is something I think that we need to take into account here, that I think those targets go elsewhere, not necessarily towards Mike Williams. And that leads me to kind of to my first prop bet. That being said, let's get back to this total. I think we're looking at an under. I think the clock runs a whole lot more than we think in this game. And while I do believe that there are going to be points scored, I think these offenses can be efficient while also not lighting up the scoreboard, if that makes sense. So if this thing kind of runs a little bit, I'm going to be looking to come in on the under. Nothing that I have in the account quite yet. I'm already on the Chiefs minus 3.5. I don't think 4. I mean, like, the difference between 3.5 and 4, not that huge. I would still play it at 4 if I really just wanted to get a ticket in on this game. I would still play it on the Chiefs. I think the Allen absence is being downplayed here. He is one of the best receivers in the league, one of the guys that truly knows how to get open in every part of the field. I mean, that's one of the things you hear about Keenan Allen, is what a fantastic route runner he is. And I think he's going to be sorely missed in a game like this. Now, listen, I'm super bullish on the Chargers. I actually have them going to the Super Bowl, right? So this is nothing against the Chargers team at all in general. I thought I was going to come into this game betting the Chargers for sure. I was like this. I targeted this game preseason. And if Keenan Allen was in there, if Donald Parham was in there, if J.C. Jackson was in there, I would definitely be on the Chargers for sure. It's just an injury situation And I have to be on a team that, again, I thought I was going to be more down on, which was the Chiefs. So that leads me to a prop, and we're going to come over here and we're going to put in Austin Eckler. Like I said, I don't think those targets necessarily just head straight to Mike Williams. I think that we're going to see a lot more stuff to Austin Eckler and being used as a receiver in this game. So we come down, and for me, I would be perfectly fine with the receiving yards over the 36.5. I would be perfectly fine with the over on the receptions at 4.5 as well. Again, if we think that Keenan Allen does what he would normally do in a game like this, get his 10, 11 targets, right? Well, let's siphon off maybe 2 more to Mike Williams. Let's siphon off a couple more to Josh Palmer, maybe one of those to DeAndre Carter. Well, that's still another 5 or 6 targets. They got to go somewhere, right? You are going to get targets to Eckler anyway in this game, and I think Eckler just gets used more heavily out of the backfield. So either way you want to play it, or both, it doesn't really matter to me, but over on the receptions and over on the receiving yards here that you can see. You can get at 36.5, and you can see the difference here. Like, some of the people have come in and started betting this already. You can still get a 36.5. And receptions as well. You can see the juice is starting to kind of flow here. I think some people getting the same idea as me, that Eckler probably is going to soak up some of those targets that would have normally gone to Keenan Allen. Another prop worth looking at here, and this is going to be J.C. Jackson based, and so we'll pull up both. And this is Juju and Kelsey. So if J.C. Jackson does play, you have to assume that that's not great for Juju, and probably better for Kelsey. Kelsey goes and he just sits down. Listen, Kelsey's not running routes on as many snaps as he used to, but he's still the focal point of this offense, and certainly going to be the focal point of this offense early on here, where he's the familiar face, as Juju's still getting completely acclimated to being in this offense with Patrick Mahomes. And so Travis Kelsey, to me, I don't know if you want to go the yardage. Listen, they kind of go hand in hand, right? I mean, like, if I think he goes and just kind of sits down over the middle for these 8 to 12, 13-ish yard gain type situations, I mean, if I'm going over on the receptions, right, which is 7 catches, it kind of equates to about 77 yards, so it's kind of 6 and 1, half dozen the other when it comes to this receiving prop. That said, if J.C. Jackson does not go in this game, I'm pretty attracted to these Juju props, because if you take a look, I think Juju really does, especially getting plus money on the 5.5, or, not really paying any juice at all on the over 55.5. This offense, again, if they sit back and J.C. Jackson isn't out there to really try to make some plays and get all over Juju, I think what we're going to see is kind of, again, this drop back, let Mahomes dink dunk down the field. And while I believe that Kelsey can still be a huge beneficiary of that, I think we're looking at a pretty big role for Juju as well. Because listen, he's not really, Juju's not your burner. Juju isn't that type of guy. He's not your super big physical receiver either. He is a guy that, if needed, I believe, could go and find and sit down in these zones and just take advantage of, Patrick Mahomes being patient and taking what the defense gives him. And so really, really do like both of those kind of angles here on this in this game. And again, no J.C. Jackson. I'm probably going to be more drawn to the Juju Smith-Schuster props. If he is out there, I'm going to be a little bit more drawn to the Kelsey props. We'll know this, of course, at least 90 minutes before game time, maybe before that, because something might leak throughout the course of the day or whatever. But I'm going to be on one or two of these, maybe even both Kelsey and Juju props as well. But I do think at the end of the day, the Chiefs get it done at home against a team that, again, I wanted to back, thought I was going to be backing, but with the injury situation, just a little bit too much for me. So Chiefs is the play for me. Going to be an underplay for me if this total does run like we see sometimes on these island games. If that's the case, I'll be coming in on the under. And again, the props, I think Eckler receptions, Eckler yardage, and then, of course, the scenario that I just played out with Kelsey and Juju. Guys, everything we do, absolutely free over on the lines. You can come read Eli's article on why he's on the other side as me over on the lines as well. Here's a little Discord button. You can see we got Discord going. We're talking all the different sports over there, so be sure and get in. And also $10,000 pick'em pool that we have, absolutely free to join, 10,000 real dollars. So you should certainly go and get in on that as well. If you want to follow me on the Twitter machine, at MattBrownM2, like, subscribe, rate, review, all the different stuff, all the things like that, and let us know in the comment section how you are going to play this game. Good luck on all your bets here on Thursday Night Football.